All these policy fronts, whether it is trade or the government shutdown, we're trying to figure out a Chinese hacking situation as well that now has become a legal issue. As a CEO, what would be your approach right now? How would you be filtering this into your outlook for next year?
Well, I think what we just witnessed at the White House injects more uncertainty into next year. First of all, let me just say I applaud the president for achieving criminal justice reform. The First Step Act is a very important first step in achieving criminal justice reform, and good for him and those 87 senators who voted for it. It's a huge achievement. However, what I think he did when he talked about border security and the necessity for a wall is dug his heels in without being specific about what he would accept. And that's a level of uncertainty that obviously the markets don't like. They're heading lower, and CEOs don't particularly like either. You know, it makes me wish for that deal that was on the table about a year ago now, which was, if you'll recall, $25 billion for border security in exchange for resolution of the Dreamers' legal status. That sounds like a really good deal right now, and it's unfortunately a deal that President Trump walked away from.
So, Carly, what do you think is the biggest source of uncertainty for CEOs right now between trade and the Fed and all these issues that we're talking about with regard to the markets every single day?
Well, first of all, I think trade is a huge one because just as it's unclear what President Trump will accept in terms of border security, so I think it is also unclear what he will accept in terms of a deal with China or other trading partners. And so I think people are wondering. Now, it's also true that China's economy is slowing down. 6% growth is really quite poor for the Chinese economy, and so I think CEOs react to that as well. But as long as it's not clear what an acceptable deal is, the threat of tariffs continues to hang over this market's head, and tariffs hurt our producers and our consumers far more than they're going to hurt Chinese producers and Chinese consumers.
So I know you haven't been at Hewlett Packard since 2005, Carly, but we got this big news that the DOJ is alleging China of stealing technology secrets, including from private companies. What's your sense of how widespread and severe this problem is, having been inside a global technology company like Hewlett Packard?
Oh, I think it's very widespread, and I think it's very severe. And I say that not just because it was something that we were thinking about and worrying about when I was the CEO of Hewlett Packard, but also because several years later, when I was in a number of government advisory roles, for example, the chairman of the External Advisory Board at the Central Intelligence Agency, or working with the Defense Department, we were clearly aware that the Chinese were working aggressively to hack not only government databases and government systems, infrastructure systems, but also the systems and databases of private companies. I think we've known this for a long time. I don't think there's been an adequate set of defenses. I think more is required legislatively. More is also required in terms of permissible cooperation between companies and between companies and the federal government. But we shouldn't be surprised that the Chinese, like the Russians, spend a great deal of time and money trying to steal our secrets in all kinds of ways, whether it's intellectual property in the Chinese market with Americans who are partnered with Chinese-approved companies, or hacking into American systems, whether those are private or government systems. And they're doing this as aggressively as the Russians are. This isn't news. It shouldn't be a surprise. And we need to really focus on bolstering defenses, both at the private company level as well as in the federal government.